The first Russia-Ukraine peace talks since the invasion of Ukraine began ends. Ukraine demands the withdrawal of Russian forces in these talks, a second round now planned. Prime Minister Modi chairs a third high-level meeting on Ukraine in 24 hours as videos from students stranded in Ukraine pour in and flood social media. 352 people, including 16 children, killed, says Ukraine at the UN General Assembly meet. Only the 11th time in the UN's history that such a session has been held. EU members announce new sanctions, assure Ukraine of more military support in the coming days. Guided by India's motto of the world being one family, India will help people from neighbouring countries and developing countries who are stranded in Ukraine seeking assistance, India tells the UNGA session. Russia bans flights from airlines from 36 countries, including Britain and Germany, in response to a slew of ban on its planes. And a Ukrainian MP pulls out a Kalashnikov during an interview with NDTV, says will defend the country if needed. Hello and welcome. Russia and Ukraine held their first talks since Moscow invaded Ukraine. Ukraine has demanded the retreat of all Russian forces from its territory as ceasefire talks began between Kiev and Moscow on the Belarusian border. The two countries are now planning a second round of talks. The talks were held at Ukraine's border with the Belarus near the Chernobyl exclusion zone. Meanwhile, the United Nations opened a rare emergency special session of the General Assembly to discuss Russia's invasion of Ukraine by observing a minute of silence for those killed in the conflict. This is only the 11th time in the UN's history that such a session has been held. The Assembly President led all the UN's 193 members in a moment of silence before calling for an immediate ceasefire. More than 100 countries are expected to speak as the global body will decide if it will support a resolution condemning Russia's quote, unprovoked armed aggression in Ukraine and demanding its immediate withdrawal.
As of today, 352 people, including 16 children, were killed on the Ukrainian side and 2,040 Ukrainians, including 45 children, wounded during the first 5 days of the Russian invasion. And this number is growing non-stop. The Russian troops are suffering losses: aircrafts, helicopters, tanks, trucks, personnel. The aggressor forces have already lost more than 5,000 in manpower during the first days of aggression. The General Assembly should be vocal in demanding from the Russian Federation to stop its offensive against Ukraine. In recognizing Russian actions as an act of aggression against a sovereign and independent state, in demanding from Russia to immediately, completely and unconditionally withdraw its forces from the territory of Ukraine within its internationally recognized borders.
We stand firmly by Ukraine and its people. We deplore the loss of life and human suffering. This is a dire humanitarian catastrophe, and humanitarian needs are rapidly increasing. With the toll of IDPs and refugees rising, humanitarian support is a priority in the wider package of EU support offered to Ukraine in these trying days. The EU and its member states are providing urgently needed humanitarian assistance to the Ukrainian population. The General Assembly has the responsibility to send a strong and united message on the need for Russia to immediately and unconditionally cease its military operations, withdraw its troops, and opt for genuine dialogue. We call on Russia to avoid, in particular, any action that places the safety and security of Ukraine's nuclear and radioactive waste installations at risk.
And guided by India's motto of the world being one family, Prime Minister Modi has stated that India will help people from neighbouring countries and developing countries who are stranded in Ukraine and seeking assistance, India told the UNGA session. Meanwhile, the Ministry of External Affairs earlier in the day on Monday said that amidst the Russia-Ukraine crisis, India will be providing humanitarian assistance, including medicines, to Ukraine.
We reiterate our call.
Indian students waiting to be evacuated from Ukraine should not panic about flight availability, the government said on Monday, detailing their plans to bring back Indian citizens. But on the ground, it's a very different reality. Disturbing stories arising about how these students, Indian citizens, have been left stranded.
Really need to go back home. The war situation is getting worse day by day, and it's important for us to go back.
Have you been talking to your family in India?
Yeah.
How are they feeling?
They are, what can I say, they are tensed about us, but at the same time they want us back as soon as possible, and they're hopeful that we'll be back soon safe.
Nobody's helping us board the train. लगा के थक गए हैं. बंद कर रहा है.
They're not letting us. They pushed us away. All the Indian students, they pushed us away. The Ukrainian people. There is no Indian officer helping us out.
What's it called? The thing they put out, they said the Indian embassy is arranging trains for Indians.
They're not arranging. They're just telling it that this is the window. Just go to the railway station.
There's none. There's no train. No resources from the Indian embassy. Zero.
What do they want? These students have gone through more in one day than most people do in their lives. Not only are they in the middle of a war, they just fought one on a train platform and lost. Now they say they don't know where they're going to go or what they're going to do next. All the hope they had this morning is gone.
And as videos of these disturbing accounts of students have started flooding social media, the Indian government seems to be moving into damage control. The government has now put out information about how India's evacuation compares with other countries. According to the government, India has 18,000 students, of which 4,000 have been evacuated. But China has 10,000 students, but evacuations are yet to begin. Morocco has about 8,000 citizens, where only a few hundred have been evacuated. In Egypt and Nigeria, who have about 3,500 to 4,000 citizens each, the governments are yet to start their evacuation. And as these disturbing reports of students being stranded have started flooding social media, Prime Minister Modi held another emergency high-level meeting on the Ukraine crisis. On Monday, it was decided that union ministers will be going to Ukraine's neighboring countries to help in the evacuation process, to help coordinate the evacuation process. Meanwhile, speaking to NDTV, a Ukrainian MP pulled out a gun, a Kalashnikov, saying if needed, he will defend his country.
Unfortunately, putting missile rocket launchers into residential areas, that by definition is not the way to make it possible to have fewer civilian casualties. Again, we're talking about tactics that we've normally seen.
So you're accusing the Ukrainian side of having heavy weaponry in residential areas. Is that what you're saying?
We're not accusing anybody of anything. We have pictures of it. Pictures that people from Kharkov...
Let me get Mr. Goncharenko to respond to that. Mr. Goncharenko, the assertion being made is that perhaps there are... Yeah, go ahead.
From Russian media. That's what is it, Sputnik.
She is from the Russian media, that's right. But she makes the point that there is weaponry deployed even by your side in residential areas. Is that correct? Yes or no?
No, it's definitely not correct. But quite shocked with the way of speaking at all. That is our territory, our cities, and your artillery is firing at the cities. We are living people. What you're speaking about? What's staying? I'm here with the Kalashnikov because of you. Just to fight with occupants Russians because you're killing our children and killing us. So maybe because I have Kalashnikov in my hands, you need to put a Grad here, or artillery should kill me because I want to defend myself. Well, I can't understand even the way of thinking. What these people are saying. We have our sovereign country. We have our sovereign territory. Shame on you. You should say that you are ashamed of what your government is doing. Oh, you are ones who is supporting it. So you are a real Nazi to do this. Genocide in the 21st century. Let's go and look at the eyes of children that you killed, of women that sitting in thousands in shelters and metro. And you are sitting and saying something, oh, maybe they put something somewhere. It's a shame. It's a complete shame.
Election news now. Manipur voted for the first phase of the two-phase polls for the 60-member assembly. 38 seats went to the polls on Monday, and the fate of 173 candidates, including the chief minister and his deputy, have been locked in the EVMs.
Manipur's first BJP chief minister, Biren Singh, voting in the first of the insurgency-hit state's two-phase election in capital Imphal, as the BJP tried to retain a state long dominated by the Congress, till Mr. Singh switched over 6 years ago.
I found and I got positive response from my AC also. I'm expecting full majority and I'll get 75%.
But hours ahead of the vote, a fresh headache for the Congress, as the party was forced to expel a candidate for allegedly helping issuing an appeal in favor of the BJP.
Party the karimate information to the namana media da karigumba khara aikogi party aduda sagot kane kan torpaduna maram oira kan aikogi party ki sana pathap ki manung ina ngarang da maru oina aikogi ma party ki tanthokre.
The polls in Manipur were held under tight security, but some violence, allegedly booth capturing and destruction of EVMs, was reported from areas dominated by the Kuki tribe and in the Imphal Valley. There were no casualties. In Manipur this time it has been a multi-corner poll battle, and barring the Congress, no other political party has a pre-poll alliance. And for the BJP, which wants to win Manipur with absolute majority, might find more than the Congress its own allies like the NPP or the JDU to be a bigger hurdle. And these parties claim that this time as well in Manipur there might be a fractured mandate.
It's going to be a fractured mandate. I think no party can. Our party will be single largest, and as of today we will be very close to 30.
We will be the key party in forming the government. We will be winning more than 10 seats. No one will be crossing 20 seats.
Voters, especially the youth, said price rise and jobs were big issues.
I'm not really satisfied with the manifesto of all the parties actually.
मुझे वो इतनी महंगाई बढ़ गई है, वो कम करने वाली सरकारी, जो दूसरों को गरीबों को मिटाने वाली, वो मदद करने वाली, वो वाली सरकार हमको चाहिए.
The second and final phase of voting is on 5th of March. And the big question is, will Manipur throw up the trend of a fractured mandate, or will things be different this time? With BM Sanju, in Imphal, Ratndeep Chaudhary for NDTV.
And here's our daily report from UP. In 2017, the BJP had won 8 out of 9 assembly constituencies in Gorakhpur. The then MP, Yogi Adityanath, became the chief minister of Uttar Pradesh. In 2022, is he the biggest trump card for the party in the district? We try to find out what the voters of Gorakhpur want this time round.
तो गोरखपुर के दिल में क्या है, आइए पता करने की कोशिश करते हैं। गृह जनपद है, गृह जिला है, मुख्यमंत्री योगी आदित्यनाथ का गोरखपीठ जो है उसके वो मठाधीश भी हैं, लेकिन इस बुल बनाम बुलडोजर की लड़ाई में जिसमें उनको एक उपाधि मिली है बुलडोजर वाले बाबा, तो बुलडोजर वाले बाबा क्या अपने विपक्षियों पर भी बुलडोजर चला देंगे, या विपक्ष के लोग जिस तरीके से वो आगे बढ़ रहे हैं उसके रास्ते में बुल रख देंगे, यानी कि सांड की जो लड़ाई हो रही है। गोरखपुर के दिल में क्या है ये जानने की कोशिश करते हैं। आप लोगों का बहुत बहुत स्वागत। मैं आपसे जानना चाहता हूं कि आपने 5 साल का यहाँ पर कार्यकाल देखा। योगी आदित्यनाथ यहीं के हैं और अब मुख्यमंत्री हैं, दोबारा मुख्यमंत्री बनने का सपना भी देख रहे हैं, दावा भी पेश कर रहे हैं। आप किस तरीके से देखते हैं?
हम लोग इस शहर में योगी जी को सिर्फ और सिर्फ महंत योगी आदित्यनाथ के रूप में जानते हैं। योगी जी आज बुलडोजर चला रहे हैं, इसके पहले भी योगी जी बुलडोजर चलाते थे।
कैसे? इस
शहर में रहना है तो योगी योगी कहना इस शहर का नारा हुआ करता था।
नौकरी है आपके पास?
नहीं, अभी नहीं है।
अभी हम उस लायक ही नहीं है कि हमको नौकरी कहाँ से मिले।
अच्छा, लायक नहीं मतलब पढ़ाई कर रहे हैं?
पढ़ाई कर रहे हैं।
लेकिन उम्मीद आपको योगी आदित्यनाथ
जरूर मिलेगी। हम उस लायक होंगे तो हमको नौकरी मिलेगी।
नहीं, ऐसा कुछ नहीं कहा जा सकता कि निष्पक्षता के आधार पर कहा जाए कि निष्पक्ष होकर अगर बात की जाए
बिल्कुल वैसे
ऐसा नहीं हुआ है। और
मतलब कैसा नहीं हुआ है?
देख देख करके कार्रवाइयाँ हुई हैं।
अच्छा, देख देख करके सरकार ने कार्रवाई की। इससे क्या तात्पर्य? आप बहुत सहम के अपनी बात रख रहे हैं, एकदम कदम फूंक के। क्या हुआ?
इसलिए कि बात जो सही है वो कदम फूंक के ही रखनी पड़ती है।
अच्छा, क्यों?
अब सरकार है और सरकार में सब कुछ संभव। यहाँ तो आप जानते ही हैं,
बुलडोजर चल जाता
है। और रही बात कि पहली बार ऐसा प्रदेश में हुआ है कि लोग डर के बात कर रहे हैं। पहले खुल के बात लोग करते थे, इसके पहले भी सरकारें रहती थी। और अब तो केवल फोटो डाल देने से आपको जेल हो जाएगी, घर से उठा लिए जाएंगे।
ऐसा नहीं। और उत्तर प्रदेश के मुख्यमंत्री, यशस्वी मुख्यमंत्री पूज्य महाराज जी के वजह से 25 साल में जो गोरखपुर की एक अलग पहचान बनी, वो आज तक गोरखपुर की पहचान नहीं बन पाई। इसके पहले सपा, बसपा, कांग्रेस की भी सरकार थी। आज हिंदुत्व और हिंदू का मुद्दा सिर्फ उत्तर प्रदेश में रह गया। अब फिर से उत्तर प्रदेश में पूज्य महाराज जी पूर्ण बहुमत से उत्तर प्रदेश से मुख्यमंत्री बनने जा रहे हैं।
लेकिन जो बात कह रहे हैं उसका आप जवाब दे रहे हैं।
अगर सामने रहते तो आप चौराहे पे खुले घूमते नहीं मेरे बड़े भैया। ये तो आपकी
यहाँ जो
हो सकती है।
ये पूर्वांचल का गोरखपुर शहर है। यहाँ बहुत से राजनीतिक पृष्ठभूमि के बड़े ऊर्जावान लोग रहते हैं और राजनीति करते हैं। उनकी नर्सरी को खत्म कर दिया गया, उनकी प्रतिभा को मार दिया गया।
अपराधियों की नर्सरी को खत्म कर दिया गया।
अपराधी सब जनता को इरिटेट कर रहा है।
अच्छा, मुझे एक बात बताइए, ये हम लोग जहाँ जहाँ गए हैं वहाँ पर हमने देखा एक बेरोजगारी एक चुनावी मुद्दा बना है, सांड एक बेरोजगारी मुद्दा, एक चुनावी मुद्दा बना है।
मेरे शहर में आए हैं, बता दीजिए कितने सांड आपसे मिल गए? आप बताइए, ईमानदारी बताइए।
शहर में दिक्कत नहीं है ना महाराज?
मैं जान करता हूँ मेरे भैया।
बिहार के आगे चले जाइए, वहाँ देख लीजिए कितनी सारी गायें बैठी हुई है। गोल घर की सड़कों पर चलना मुश्किल है, इतने सारे इतनी गायें हैं यहाँ। और आवारा पशुओं से पूरा जिला परेशान।
अच्छा, इससे पहले मैं आपके पास आऊँ, सलीम भाई हमारे साथ यहाँ पर आता हूँ एक सेकंड। सलीम भाई, यहाँ पर हम देख रहे हैं सब अपनी अपनी बात रख रहे हैं। सबका ये कहना है कि यहाँ पर भारतीय जनता पार्टी के जो लोग समर्थक हैं या योगी आदित्यनाथ के जो समर्थक हैं, उनका ये कहना है कि ऐसा बम्पर विकास जो है वो पहले कभी नहीं हुआ है गोरखपुर में। आप यहाँ
बारिश में नाव चलती है, इसी में नाव चलती है। आप जाइए ना।
एक सलीम भाई से पूछ लो, उसके बाद आता हूँ। हाँ, आपका विश्लेषण।
देखिए, ऐसा है कि 17 की लहर तो नहीं है। अगर
17 की लहर गोरखपुर में नहीं
है। अगर गोरखपुर में 9 सीटें थी, जिसमें से 1 सीट चिल्लू पार की बसपा ले गई थी, बाकी 8 सीटें जो हैं वो बीजेपी के खाते में गई थी। लेकिन इस चुनाव में ये देखा जा रहा है कि 1 सीट छोड़ के, गोरखपुर सदर की सीट छोड़ के, बाकी 8 सीटों पे सीधी टक्कर है। अब
किसके साथ
रिजल्ट क्या होगा?
अगर देखिए, अगर विकास का पैमाना बिजली, सड़क, पानी, सुरक्षा, लॉ एंड ऑर्डर है तो योगी जी 100 में 110% सफल। विकास सिर्फ सरकारी नौकरियों से आता है तो योगी
विकास बुलडोजर से भी आ रहा है क्या?
अरे सर, बुलडोजर तो बदमाशों के ऊपर चला है ना। ये विकास ही है, बुलडोजर विकास ही दिखाई दे रहा है।
ये बुलडोजर वाला विकास क्या है?
बुलडोजर सिर्फ एक धर्म विशेष के लोगों पर और जाति विशेष के लोगों पर,
धर्म और जाति विशेष के
लोगों पर बुलडोजर चलता है। बुलडोजर कहाँ चला?
चलिए, आप सब लोगों का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद हमारे साथ जुड़ने के लिए। तो माहौल अब गर्म हो गया है और बातचीत लगातार चल रही है। अब देखना ये होगा कि गोरखपुर में ये जो बाबा का बुलडोजर जिससे वो जाने जाते हैं, ये बुलडोजर क्या प्रतिद्वंदियों को रौंदते हुए राजनीतिक रूप से आगे निकलेगा या इस बुलडोजर में डीजल खत्म हो जाएगा और वो रुक जाएगा। ये चीज 10 मार्च को पता लगेगी।
And that's the news at this hour. Bye-bye.